Okay. This is Paul O'Brien. I'm going to be the acting chairman tonight. Mr. Harriman is not going to be with us. So please bear with me. If I make any mistakes, the rest of my colleagues will bail me out. Okay, so I'm going to start the meeting by reading a preamble to everybody. That is, good evening. As acting vice chairman of the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen, I'm declaring that an emergency exists, and I'm invoking the provisions of RSA 91A:2(3)B. Federal, state, and local officials have determined that gatherings of one or more people pose a substantial risk to our community. It's continuing efforts to combat the spread of COVID-19. In concurring with their determination, I also find that this meeting is imperative to the ongoing and continued operation of town government and services, which are vital to public safety and confidence during this emergency. As such, at this time, I also welcome members of the public accessing this meeting remotely. Even though this is a meeting being conducted in a unique manner and under unique circumstances, the usual rules of conduct and decorum apply. Any person found to be disruptive during this meeting will be asked to cease the disruption. Should the disruptive behavior continue thereafter, that person will be removed from the meeting. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done via roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking roll call attendance. Will each member please state your name and state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law.
In a room at my house by myself.
Senecal.
I'm in a room by myself with my dog traipsing around somewhere here.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bowers.
Dave Bowers in the room with my wife, Christy. I don't know where our cat is.
This is Paul O'Brien, and I'm in a room by myself. Okay, having gone through that, we'll now enter regular session. Mr. Town Manager, good evening. Do we have a need for non-public this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. We do not have a need for non-public this evening. Thank you.
Good news. Thank you very much. We have a continuation of a public hearing that started at our last regularly scheduled board meeting, which was a week ago. And that is Elizabeth and James Shannon to host a Halloween trick-or-treat event on October 31st from 5 to 7 at the Clark Museum Complex, permit number 2028. And there's supposed to be some follow-up on that, Mr. Town Manager, but I don't have any documents in my hand to review, or I don't think any of the board members do as well. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I just reached out to Amy. She is diligently looking at that now. Hopes to be sending it during the meeting. I do know that they worked with the various department heads. There was no issues detected by those department heads. They were supportive of what was going forward, and I believe that they were working and had secured insurance. So I would anticipate by the end of this meeting, we will have those documents in our inbox. So if you would prefer to table it till Monday evening, or if you would like to revisit at the end of this meeting, I guess that's your discretion.
Pleasure of the board. Select people, what do you want to do? You want to wait and see if we can get something in here tonight, or you want to table till Monday?
Well, if we table it to Monday, it's not going to affect them at all. So we should wait and have the documents than to try to be at a meeting plus read documents.
So you're saying let's try to get it done tonight, Linda?
No, wait till Monday.
Wait till Monday. Linda's saying wait till Monday. Anybody else?
Monday's good.
Monday's good. Mr. Bowers?
Yes, Monday.
Mr. Town Manager, we'll conquer this issue on Monday, okay? You okay with that, Jim? Jim is giving me a head nod. Okay, good. Okay.
Yes, I just advised Amy of such as well.
All right, thank you. Yep, thanks a lot. Okay, so we have some old business in front of us, and that is a Pop Wayland update. And I think Ms. Collins is here with us. all
Yes,
yours,
I
Kristen. Thank you.
Okay, so we, Paul, Linda, myself, Justin, Aaron House, and Chuck Smith, both representing Back Bay, and Aaron House also representing Kingswood High School. Went to a walkthrough through Pop Whalen, and we kind of looked through all the issues we were having, that there was some discrepancy, kind of marked everything out. And so I think we have a good game plan. There's just a little tweaking we have to do to the document. I think we had 12 and under for no locker rooms. It's actually 10 and under. But they actually have the notes from the meeting. They're reviewing it. They will get back to me. However, that was sent to them this afternoon. And then shortly after that, I heard that the governor had made an announcement that all New Hampshire ice rinks will be closed for the next 2 weeks. So for us, it gives us some time to kind of do all the things that we discussed and just make sure we're being absolutely as safe as possible. So I think we're in a good spot there. And then just working closely with the hockey organizations to have their rosters in place and just give us a little bit more time to button everything up before we do open the ice arena. So that's where we stand right now. And once we finalize the tweaks that need to be made, I will send it to the board so you have a copy of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Linda Murray, you were there. Can I put you on the spot and ask what your impressions were of our conversations yesterday?
I thought that the representatives from Back Bay came ready to find a solution with us. It was a very pleasant meeting. We talked about the different options. We passed different ideas back and forth, and we were able to come to an agreement and conclusion. And I thought it was an excellent meeting with all parties working together.
And I personally was there, and I happen to agree completely. I thought Aaron and Chuck were professionals. At the end of the day, we're all trying to keep the kids safe, even the adults too. We're trying to keep everybody safe, and I think we still achieved that objective. That was a good session yesterday. We should have more like that. So thank you. So you're gonna. So the governor shut the rinks down for 2 weeks. You're going to get kind of a sign off from our colleagues over at the two associations. Brewster's been great. We thank Brewster and Absentia. They've been awesome. And then hopefully when we get back in business, we can just move on, and that would be great. Okay.
Right.
Any questions about? Yeah, Christine. Go
I
ahead.
would just say one thing. So with the closing of the 2 weeks, it might, like, we're waiting to hear from the governor. They did send out some guidelines the other day after our discussion, which they wanted some feedback on. So as I had stated before, this will always be a working document because as things come up. So as safe as we are, we don't know if there will be more guidelines that we have to put in place. So we will currently keep what we have, and we will wait to hear from the governor to see if we have to be stricter or add things or subtract things. So again, it's a working document, and we will be most up to date as it keeps evolving.
Right, Paul, and I think
Christine,
that, did we in the past approve it with a motion, protocols, or did we just do it by consensus? I think that
we did it by consensus, Linda.
Okay.
I
I think we
probably.
should do that again.
Yeah, we probably are going to have to, I think what Christine is alluding to, and I think Linda, you and I heard this yesterday as well, is there may be some additional requirements now in terms of the wearing of masks and the like. And so the protocol that we may have devised may be, tossed. So we may have to go back and put it back up. But we probably want to see that before we open the rinks up.
Yeah,
Anybody
what I'm
else,
saying is I think it needs to come back through us for us to get a consensus on, just to make sure that Pop Whalen, Friends of Abenaki, no, Friends of Back Bay and Back Bay Association know that we have approved it, and that just makes it cleaner, I think.
I agree with you. So Christine, you work with the town manager, make sure it gets back on the docket. Okay.
Absolutely.
With that, I think I'm supposed to open this up for public input. Not your piece, Christine, but I think there's a public input requirement here. Public input. No, Jim?
Mr. Vice Chairman,
Yep.
I believe we've got to take up the other Halloween related item first regarding trick or treating.
Okay, but we don't have a document on that either, or do we?
We were saying Wednesday afternoon.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Yes, all right. Is this the one that, yes, I agree. We have the document. Anyways, let's open it up for conversation.
If you have it, can you put it up for people to see or not?
I can.
Should do
Take
that.
me just a second. Let me.
For those of you who are watching on TV, you can see that I'm new at this and we're kind of, bear with me. Hi, Cindy. We'll get to you.
So there was been discussion regarding Halloween and trick or treating. As a result of that, we did some research.
There it is.
And we came up with a game plan going forward. Can you guys see that okay?
Is there any way you can make it just a slight bigger, Jim?
Not really. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I can on my screen. There you go.
How's
There
that?
you go. Yeah,
There
now
you
you
go.
just have to scroll it. You'll have to scroll it a little bit, but that's okay. Yeah.
Okay, so here are the guidelines regarding Halloween. And you're gonna have to excuse me because I'm not gonna be able to read this, I don't think, very well based on the way that this format is. But what it boils down to is Halloween will be on October 31st of this year, as it should be, between the hours of 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. One of the things that we have for an objective here is for families to be able to have a good time, but also to be able to keep families safe. So we're encouraging that only wrapped items are given out. Give out items from the outside of your home on a table. Try to maintain 6 feet of distancing, or stay behind the storm door in your home, and place treats out for visitors as they approach. Do not hand anything directly to the children. Heavily encouraging putting out sanitizer and for the families to bring hand sanitizer with them. We are not encouraging gloves based on CDC guidelines. We had a little bit of discussion about this, trying to create one-way flow of traffic. This is going to be a difficult one, but we obviously want people to use some common sense here, and try to observe which patterns people are doing and try and fall in line with that. If you don't wish to participate in giving out to people, we're asking you to shut off your porch lights, dim your lights, and we're also asking that the citizens respect that. Respect that this is a difficult time for a lot of people, and please try not to go to somebody's home where you may not necessarily be welcome based on the high risk of this environment. Other things trick-or-treaters should do, try to stay in small groups with your family preferably, and in your own neighborhoods. Avoid large groups. Try not to go inside of anybody's homes or carry hand sanitizer with you. Again, gloves are not recommended. Wear protective masks. Even though you're dressed up for Halloween, please try to use that mask, and wear flame retardant costumes, carry flashlights, stop by the public safety building to get glow sticks. The fire department does an excellent job with the police department on that. So that's what we have for a summary. This has been reviewed by department heads. We've gotten a thumbs up. All the department heads are satisfied with it. With that said, I'd like to hand it back over to the board for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Pinio. Members of the board, questions, comments?
Looks good.
I can't see anybody to recognize you, so just chime in.
I think it
Well
looks
done.
good.
Well done.
Thank you, Mr. Senecal. Ms. Murray?
Do you want a motion or are we just gonna approve it by consensus?
I'd like to get a motion on this, but why don't we just get around the board? Is there anybody else who has commentary on it? I think it's a great job. I think personally, it's good that we're going to do this. Everybody, please be safe. Protect each other. And as Jim said, if somebody doesn't want to participate, they'll shut their lights off and close their doors. That's their prerogative. Just be safe. Anybody else before we ask for a motion on this? Comments? Thank you, Mr. Senecal, for your comments. How about a motion to approve?
I'll
move
make
that
it.
we approve.
Go ahead, Dave.
I'll make a motion, we approve the materials we just looked at for Halloween.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Let's do a roll call vote, please. Linda Murray,
Yes.
Dave Senecal,
Yes.
Dave Bowers.
Yes,
Paul O'Brien votes yes, the motion carries. Okay, thank you. Now this is where I got is there anything else in old business, Jim, that we need to deal with? Okay, so this is where I get this little bollock stuff. Because it's a budget meeting, should we have 2 public input sessions or just 1?
I think we're not hearing the temporary event permit. I think we're all set to go without it.
So we'll have a public input session at the end of the meeting. Any objection by the board? Okay, let's move forward. Okay. Cindy Scott, representing the Wolfeboro Public Library. We're going to go through your budget tonight. How are things at the library, Cindy?
Things are going well. Of course, we're down a little bit because of all of the COVID issues, but people are coming into the library, just using it differently than before.
Yeah, a lot of people coming in using internet access to get out, or are they coming in for other purposes?
I would say that there's a lot of people coming in to get stacks of books instead of just a few books. They're coming in less often. And also we've got quite a number of people who come in and use the high-speed internet who are taking online classes. We have some small meeting spaces where we're limiting the number of people who can be in them and cleaning them afterwards that have been very popular for some of the homeschooling people who are doing things. And so we're trying to work with what people currently need from us.
And how's the new building working out for you?
It's working pretty good. I'm learning the new heating system. I'm having different training courses, and the roof doesn't leak, so everything's good.
Magic. Okay, you ready to do the budget? You ready to go through your budget?
Mr. Vice Chairman?
Yep.
If I could, I just, for people who are out there watching, I just would like to summarize a couple things before we get going on this budget. Met with Cindy and the trustees back in September, went through their budget. Their budget request is for $488,067, which is an increase of $7,071 or 1.47%. They did a great job at bringing their budget in as requested. And then at the end of the budget review, the operating budget review, there is a capital outlay request that Cindy will be able to speak to that has some creativity to it. Thank you.
And Mr. Town Manager, is this proposed budget sitting out on the town website right now?
Not yet. It's in the queue to be placed up on the website. It's just, we don't have the IT person on enough to be able to get that type of work done, but it is in the queue to get put up on the website.
So for those people watching out there, check back to the town website. The Jim and the IT department have put 2021 budgets out there. It's just a matter of parking them out there, but they'll be up on the, I think it's on the front page of the town website, isn't it, Jim? So check back, late place to check. Okay, Cindy, you ready to go?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, 100 series. $200 series. $300 series. $400 series.
I have a question.
Linda?
On the heating oil, am I correct in saying you have all electric heat, you will have no heating oil?
No heating oil, it's all electric. It's all electric now.
Okay.
And for folks who want to know why the electric bill is 57 or 58% above last year's, why don't you just give us a little color commentary on that?
Well, basically, previously we had oil heat, so we were paying the oil bill, and we had much less electrical use, but now we have air handlers and can't think of what it is, but basically it's now it's all electric, and one of the issues is we don't have totally normal numbers yet for electricity because we were still under construction in early 2020, and we also found out that the heating system was not balanced properly, so we were using unusual amounts of heat. I have had electric bills ranging from $400 to $2,000 in a month. So we're looking forward to 2021 giving us more realistic numbers, as well as the summer and fall of 2020, we're getting realistic numbers, but we certainly don't have realistic numbers yet for winter usage based on those issues.
So the utility bills have gyrated a bit because of construction and the unknowns of what going from one building to the other. But for the people out there that are looking at the bottom line of this operation, Jim, 1%?
Yeah, I believe it was 1.47.
1.47.
Summing it all up, yeah.
And I would say that a certain amount of that increase is because of the fact that we still are in some cases under warranty for parts of the building. So we didn't have service contracts for various systems. But in 2021, we have to have all these service contracts for all the different kinds of systems. And that has caused quite an increase in building maintenance costs that we didn't have to deal with in 2020.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on the 400 series?
I have two. I see on the sheets that there's 0 used to date on water and sewer. Have you not gotten a bill today?
We have used water and sewer. The problem, this is a MuniSmart problem.
Okay.
And basically MuniSmart, because the library pays its own bills, it only tracks our payroll, our benefits, telephone, insurance, and audit. And basically the rest of the numbers aren't in there. So the 2019 actual expenditures and the 2020 to date expenditure numbers are not accurate because they don't reflect what the actual numbers are. I have spent, I discussed with Jim also trying to deal with this, and honestly, I think when the new finance director comes, hopefully we can deal with this. This has been an ongoing problem for years, and Pete used to jump through quite the hoops to try to resolve this for your report. So water, we have spent $544, and sewer, we have spent $241 so far this year.
But am I correct? The water and sewer for a while was on the contractor?
There was a part of the contract for costs that were associated to their use of the water and the sewer and the electric. But we're beyond that now.
Still gyrating on utilities, but you're landing this thing around 1.5% on the bottom. Okay. Any other questions on the 400 series? Okay, thank you. 500 series. 600 series, 700 series, 800 series. Okay. Okay, and there is a conversation to be had about capital outlay, Jim?
That's
And we're,
correct.
and we're gonna
And,
find that in the back of our, down
Yep.
down in our capital outlay tab.
Yeah, it would be toward the back, behind the general fund capital outlay tab. And
Mhm.
Cindy, again, will be able to speak to this.
Cindy,
Very
please.
creative.
Yep, this is to replace our website, which was something that we had anticipated we were going to do. But it's become even more critical since we're so much more virtual right now, and we're doing a lot more virtual services. We've temporarily uploaded a new front main page for the library just to make it a little easier for people trying to get to some of our virtual services. But it's time. It's been 7 years since we last did our website, and it has aged out. And so we intend to use private money, not public money, to do this. So this is to get the permission to spend these monies that we have on this.
Any questions, board members?
It sounds good to me, especially if we have private funds to do it, and I think the public will enjoy an updated website.
Yeah, we have trust fund money, and we have somebody who's interested in donating, and the Friends of the Library have also expressed an interest in supporting this.
Fantastic.
That always works. Have you met the new IT assistant, Cindy?
Not since she was appointed, but I know her as a library user.
Awesome. She's an awesome person. She can be helpful. Take advantage of that resource. It's great. Okay, any other questions, board members? Okay, I think we are there. Cindy, thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you.
Okay, everybody, turn your tab. Or Jim, do you have anything before we begin?
Yep. So next budget up will be fire rescue. Under the fire rescue tab, when you open that up, the cover sheet will outline fire department, emergency management, public safety building, ambulance, and capital outlay. The fire department budget, which we'll start on, is up $100,824, or 6.29%. A couple of the big drivers on this, retirement system costs. The New Hampshire retirement system for firefighters effective July 1 of 2021 will go from 30.09% to 32.99%. So that we're going to observe a significant increase in that line. Additionally, you'll see some increases relative to vehicle maintenance and professional development, which Chief Scanzi will be able to talk to. This particular budget also covers 11 full-time firefighters and 1 full-time executive assistant. And I believe, I'm not sure right now, I think Chief Scanzi's around 5 call members, and I know he's in the process of hiring more. With that said, we've got these budgets to go through, and then as well at the end, Chief Scanzi has some capital outlay items that we should discuss. I'll hand it back to you, Vice Chairman.
Any questions before we begin, board members? Just a comment from me, Jim. The document I'm looking at is dated 5 October, and I'm not tallying to the bottom line, so I'll need to get an updated hunk of paper from you guys.
Yeah.
But it's close.
Yeah, it should be in your manila folder in your box, but we'll be sure that gets to you. Thank you.
Linda stole that manila folder out of my box. I just want everybody to know that.
No, I saw you throw it on the floor.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that, Linda. All right, Chief Scanzi, how are you doing? Yeah, turn on your microphone, please. Thank you, sir. We're glad to have you aboard. Okay, you want to give us a headline of how you've done first couple of quarters here running our beloved fire and rescue operation?
It's been an interesting year. We have a really well trained staff of firefighters here who handle a lot of calls for the number of personnel that we have. We knew that we had some deficits with personnel and some ideas for trying to improve that. And as Jim mentioned earlier, we're in the process of hiring 4 additional call firefighters, which would bring our call ranks up to a total of 9. We had 5 before. I think that's going to, that's not the answer to every problem we have, but that's a great intermediate step to try and get some additional resources for our larger labor intensive type calls. Other than that, I can tell you that the people that work here are very dedicated and well trained, and I'm enjoying it very much.
Yeah, I was going to put you on the spot because every time I speak with the chief, he always tells me how great the people are, and I don't mean that as a gratuitous comment. You always say that, and I think that's great. Okay, you ready to go through your budget?
I am.
All right, sir. Here we go. Let's look at the 100 series line.
Paul, I have a question.
Yes.
On 112, I am surprised that that line went up. As you can see, your supervisor salary, your hourly salaries all went down because there was an extra week the year before. Can you explain to me why this one increased instead of going down? There may be a reason.
I'm pretty sure it's because it was funded at the full year as opposed to part-time last year. The position was a part-time position, and this year it was funded at a full-time 35 hours a week.
So it was under 30 and now it's 35 hours.
That's correct. And then that has its own line and is not part of supervisory salaries anymore. It's now has its own line item.
Yeah, I understand that. The between part-time and full-time gives me the answer here. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Any other questions on the 100 series line, folks? Okay. 200 series?
Wait, Paul, can I go back to 150 other compensations? This is a brand new item. There was nothing last year, and I think we should have a better understanding of what that entails and why it's here and why we've not had it in the past.
I think I'll defer to the town manager because this is something that's been done townwide, not just for the department.
Yep. So I can certainly answer that. So one of the conversations that was had last year regarding the fire and police budgets, specifically with the budget committee, was holiday pay, both for overtime and off-duty holiday pay, and length of service stipends were all part of the hourly wages line. From a budgeting standpoint, it was a real nightmare for us to plug those numbers in and get accuracy because some of those are related to retirement, some are not. Some are related to workers' comp, some are not. So we took and broke out the holiday pay and length of service, and that's what you observe in those lines.
So you're telling me we would have seen them before, some of them in the hourly salary line. I don't know whether the supervisors were in that. We would have seen them in the compensation line. So we've just taken funds that were already in this budget and put it in one category. So that really, so I don't know how much higher this is from the last year. And then when I look at the 100 line, let's say I go hourly, that's down 9, but this is up huge. I don't have any way of of comparing or knowing what's going on.
I think
Yeah,
that, I think
so-
we're in the same space now that it's up. So if this was just simply an extraction from other lines, all things being equal, would the budget in total for the 100 series be flat?
So, excellent question. And a lot of, there was an increase. Chief Scansey did request an increase in the overtime line. So in the backup information, it should give the breakdown relative to the other compensation line, which the holiday pay would have been part of the overtime line previously. So there's a reduction there, as is the length of service. Those items there are $50,000. But you do see a corresponding increase that the chief has requested in his overtime budget, which is line 140. And he can probably answer that better than I can.
Go ahead, Chief.
So on overtime, there's a correspondence from overtime to, it covers actually three things. Leave time replacement, which the manager just was discussing, and that's calculated based on actual potential leave time for every employee. Also, incident callback. One of the things that we discussed when I first came on board here was an interest in getting, callback from our employees coming back for significant calls. And obviously that's something that has to be managed, but we are getting employees coming back for callback. And also, probably the most significant thing is training. We have a very aggressive training request in this budget, both in the funds to pay for training, but also in the ability to pay the overtime for the training. And people are interested in gaining certifications, attending training. We meet on Monday nights for fire, EMS, water rescue, and other related training sessions on a monthly basis. And then there's also people who have and who want to go and get specialized certifications. And so I'm asking you to support that for that purpose. And I can talk more about the training when we get to that line, so you'll have a little bit better idea of the types of training that I'm talking about.
Stand by, we're processing.
Or
I
can
guess
talk about
my
it now.
feeling is if I take the 40,000 for, we have no control over, which is the 200 series, we're looking at an increase of about $60,000 in this budget, where we asked for zero. And I just don't know. I think we need to look at maybe cutting back something, but I'm not quite sure what to cut back at this point. I'm struggling with that.
Okay. I think a little more explanation of how the overtime is working, Jim, would be probably helpful, but we'll go from here.
So
Any
do
other
you want,
questions Linda raises for questions?
I'll go through it, and if there's something I, think needs to be cut, I'll do. But that's where my struggle here is. That's a big increase.
Mhm.
We're asking for us to be level funded, and I understand why there may need to be some increases, but this is, I think, larger than in a year where we've had hard economic times and people have. It seems very large for me. So we may just ask when we come to the battle line whether he can take some money out and he can choose. I can't tell. I don't have the knowledge to know which line makes the most sense.
And because it's all together, excuse me, Linda, because it's all together, those three different categories of callback and training it's, some of it is predictable and plannable, and some of it is not. Callback is not really predictable. We can't predict how many or what types of calls, and we can't predict who will select to come back on callback. So some of that,
Yeah.
you know,
and
is fluid.
I think what
Yeah, and
Linda's saying is the number at large is big, and we're not gonna pick at you. We may wanna discuss it at the end. Jim, did you have something you wanted to chime in?
Yeah, so it sounds like what I'm hearing right now is you would like to have lines 140 and 150 as revisits. Is that correct?
At the moment,
At the moment.
at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
Okay,
Will do.
okay. Let's jump over to the 200 series. $300 series.
Yeah, 351. And my issue with that is that we should have a figure approved in 2020. I understand you took out the contract for the ambulance, but there should be a figure in there because that makes it look like you've had increased a large amount there, and I don't believe you had. I think you just pulled out one piece and forgot to put it from the year before back in here.
Linda,
So-
excuse me.
So part of that is a programming issue that I simply don't have the ability to understand and modify in MuniSmart at this point. The cover sheet which you received, which has the Excel document, outlines that the $18,400 for physicals has always been in the budget. It balances out on the bottom of that Excel cover sheet. I'm hoping that once we get the finance director on board, she's going to be able to either relocate this $18,400 back into the 350 line and journal entry out the ambulance contract or something different, but understood clearly, Linda.
It skews what we're looking at for his increase in budget. That's why
It just jumps, yeah, it's a $18,000 number that just pops right off the page, you know? At least it
I
does.
had
for
asked the manager to make a number of procedural changes in the budget. You know, for example, this getting the ambulance into its own account rather than a line item. In this particular one, medical services covers new hire physicals, annual physicals for our current employees, return to duty physicals, and you know, with the hiring, you know, even of call personnel would have this physical exam. So it's all physicals at this point, and it's always been there.
Okay. Anything else on 300 series? All right, 400 series. Big lift in the vehicle maintenance, Chief. You want to talk about the vehicle maintenance line?
Yes, I do, sure. Yeah.
Huge lift in vehicle maintenance.
What I did in the past, this line item has been funded covering all of the vehicle maintenance issues. And when I asked the manager not the town manager, but the vehicle maintenance, the mechanical division leader to do was to do an actual budget on the apparatus that we have. Rather than just put the same number in there, I want him to go through and tell me and be able to tell you, what are we going to do for vehicle maintenance for anticipated expense? And then I wanted there to be a certain amount of money in there for unanticipated expense. And because we didn't do that in the past, I think it was potential that money that would have been earmarked for planned things had to be used for unanticipated expenses. And we've had a lot of unanticipated expenses with some of the apparatus that we have. And we're working very diligently with the capital improvement budget to get in a position where hopefully this won't be a problem in the future. But this covers things like semi-annual preventative maintenance for each vehicle, transmission service for each vehicle, generator service, pump testing and pump service, aerial testing and service. And then unanticipated repairs, there's a small section in here for the replacement of batteries and for tires, which, you know, it was covered basically by whatever the most immediate need was. I'm hoping this is a more of a planned budget. So if you were to want to reduce this, the logical thing to do would probably be to reduce the number of times we're providing preventative maintenance to the various vehicles, because that's really, you know, there's only, I think, 6,000 for unanticipated expenses, and we probably could potentially have more than that. So carving away, if we have, for example, 2 preventative maintenance plans for engine 1, and then we run into problems, we'd have to carve into that second planned preventative maintenance trip. So that's the logic behind it this year. It is up. I think it's worth supporting because we have to make sure the fleet's ready to go.
Big numbers. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm with you, big numbers, but I'm not willing to cut it at this point.
Yep.
You know, I do believe us taking care of our vehicles makes sense, and I hope that means they last longer, and we have less major repairs. But it's a big number. That's a
Big
big
number.
increase. Thank you. Just is.
Any other questions on the 400 series budget? Building
Yeah.
maintenance. Go ahead, Linda.
Yeah, that's where I am. When you go into building maintenance, I'm there. You want to go or you want me to?
You can dig in.
Okay, I would take out the 3,000 for renovation of the existing space at the central station and leave the other in. That would mean that this would only be about $1,740 increase instead of a $4,740. And I think the others make sense to me. It's a building we may, you know, in the near future, do a major renovation to. But I think the other ones, I think, are more important than that one.
Chief Scanzi, before we take this further, commentary on that?
Yes, I would. Thank you. You probably are already aware of the fact that a lot of the building maintenance for the headquarters, the public safety building, is found in the public safety building budget under line 435. And that covers most of the big items involved in maintenance of the building and the ongoing expense for both sides of the maintenance of the building. What this line here is, maybe renovation is a little grandiose. We're really talking about, what do you call it, Paul? Nails and paint? And, you know, I mean, this is a room and an office space that we want to make more usable space. And I understand that we're in the process of moving out, but we definitely want to take care of the building while we're there. And so, you know, we try to chip away at it. We did a few things this year trying to chip away. We did some painting, you know, put some wall up here. So really, that's what you're talking about. It's not, I guess renovation maybe was the wrong, maybe, you know, too strong a word. So that involves a ready room, which is used daily. It's where the gathering of the firefighters are when they're there during the day. It's the space the firefighters use to do projects in. And then there's another office space that used to be the fire alarm room that we just need to clean up. That's what that money's for.
Thank you, Chief. Board members?
Yep.
To me, if something I need to cut to bring this back, that I think is something you can live with. I prefer to take it there than in your vehicle maintenance.
We can live with it, whatever you do.
Sounds like we need a motion on that right now.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we take 3,000 out of line 42200-435, building maintenance.
Motion's on the table. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Linda Murray,
Yes,
Dave Senical,
Yes.
Dave Bowers.
Yes.
Paul O'Brien says yes. Motion carries. Chief, you just got a little haircut.
That's right. Just took a little sit off the
Time
top.
off the edge here,
Not
Chief.
much there.
Well, we'll go to, well, we haven't gotten done yet. We'll get to the top a little bit later on. Okay. So any more discussion on the 400 series, folks? Okay, 500 series? $600 series?
Yeah, I had 635. If I think this is the wrong figure, I think it should be $1,310.68. And I get that from the calculation.
Correct.
I think it's 1,311 because the assistant was told to round everything up. So I think
I'll do that. I'll give you $1,311. You got it.
You just got 38 cents
I
increase.
think I'm
He squeezed
Winning.
38 cents out of me.
We just tagged you for $3,000 and we gave you back 38 cents. I like the way this is going.
You want that as a motion?
We need it? I don't think so.
I
Do
don't
you?
think so. I think it's a correction of a line.
The rounding
It's
error.
entry error, it's fine.
Okay. Any other commentary? Now, by the way, is this, Jim, is this still the same issue with petroleum? It's the same thing we have with our Phoenix system that we've been speaking about?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Okay, any other comments on the 600 series?
Yeah, 680, and maybe I didn't read carefully enough. Why is that up 4,000? Safety equipment, is that because you're gonna bring in new call firefighters?
I believe the big change on this one is the chief is transitioning from 3 sets of personal protective gear to 4 sets of personal protective gear this year. And that's exactly what you hit on, Linda, is additional stuff.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, so I'll ask the question. This budget is up high. Could you live with only 3 instead of 4? Can we bring this in at 0?
Linda, I think the safety equipment, I'm not pulling the safety card. I'm just saying in that equipment, there's specific pieces that have to be provided to each employee to protect them. If they go to take, for example, a course at the fire academy, a new firefighter, and they don't have the right equipment, they won't let them participate until they have the right equipment. We don't want them to be going to responding to calls unless they have the right equipment. We don't have generic sizes for, for every size that you would have. So there is some equipment we have to buy and can't just pull it off a rack to equip them. So I think it's important to leave that intact if it's at all possible.
Well, I guess I heard Jim saying what we had been in was a cycle of doing 3 a year, is what I understood. Now we're going to 4 in a year when we're concerned about the budget. And I'd leave your vehicle maintenance alone because I think we need those out, but we're increasing a cycle in a year where we really should try to keep it at 0. So that's my.
Don't forget that this is also includes uniforms in this line item and other things. Forestry equipment, water rescue equipment. It's not just the 4 sets of gear, although that's a large number in that budget.
So why don't I do this for you? Take out 1 set, leave everything else in, take out 1 set, rotate 3 instead of 4. And what's my figure?
Okay. You'll have to, I'm not sure I follow.
Okay.
I understand what you mean by taking out 1 set of gear, but how will that help me with 4 new employees?
Well, maybe you can't afford 4 new employees. Or
Boy,
you
I'll
get,
tell you, I don't think we can afford not to have them.
Let's
You know?
revisit 680 safety equipment.
I mean, the employees, I don't think we can afford not to try to increase our call numbers. I think that has to be a priority, but I get what you're saying. It's got to come from somewhere. And I know you're trying to compromise. I know in this particular area, it's going to be hard to outfit these people. I just had a meeting about that today. How do you want to handle the purchasing of protective clothing? Do you want to buy the stuff now? I said, use whatever we have now. After the first of the year, we'll get them some more. They're not, they're going to be new. They're getting oriented, but we've hired some people who are already certified. They're going to go right to work. So it's food for thought,
I just don't think we can have a budget go up this high. I'm just trying to find some place. Maybe we just at the end do a haircut, so. I think Dave wants to say something.
Mr. Seneca.
Yeah. I got to agree with the chief. We've tried for years to get other personnel on this department, call firefighters, and if he's got a chance to get them, give them the equipment they need to work with. I mean, if he's expecting 4 new ones to come on, he needs 4 sets of something. That's not an area I would cut. I'm not in favor of depleting anything out of that particular line.
I think where I come out on this is it is a big up. I don't, for the life of me, presume to understand how to run a fire service. I don't. But I'm looking at a 7.5%, 8% up budget. And I'm asking myself the question, is there a way to get that number down? And, we'll get to it at the end. We still have, we're at the 800 series?
Yep.
We're at the 800. So I don't know where to go with this. Do we want to get done and come back and look at this again? Do we want to give the chief a goal for a budget target? Let's get a minute or two conversation on that.
Well, myself, as I just said, I'm not in favor of taking something out of that. It's been too hard to call firefighters, to come in. If you want to revisit it, that's fine. If he can break it down per person, maybe it would make more sense to everybody. But I'll tell you, I think any of us that have been around here for a little while, we always said call firefighters and haven't been available.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have at least 4, is my understanding, that we may be coming on 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you, we need to outfit them and get them on board, because there's some nights or some instances where everybody's not here. We need those people extra.
So I think I'm with you,
year.
Dave, by saying I don't think we should pick up a line item, because I don't know how to do that. And I think you're passionate that you think that shouldn't be touched. Are we okay at the total number?
Well, again, let's see what that number is. You've asked for some stuff to be revisited. I don't have an issue with that.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not going to have that number tonight at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just look at the bottom and say, take 4.5% off and let, the chief take it out where he wants, I think that's a little unfair, because we haven't given him the direction of where he needs to go, or where we think he needs to go. And Paul, you said it, you don't totally understand the fire service. So, if you're looking at the bottom line, that's one thing. And yes, agree, everybody tries to keep it at 0, but there's some things we can't adjust. And there's a few others we can. But I think this one, especially because if we've got some personnel coming on board that is, as the chief said, is certified, we need to outfit them. You don't get that chance very often to have certified people coming on your department as call firemen. That's doesn't happen very often.
Thank you, Dave. Chief Scanzi?
I just also, I don't want it to sound like I don't understand, Linda, what you're saying. I totally understand your point. I just bring you back to that first page of the presentation where it shows that just between wages and benefits, things that were in play, like retirement and, salaries, there's almost a $70,308 exchange there that, that I can't control that. And so what I have controlled has been vehicle maintenance, a little bit of building maintenance, medical disposable and non-disposable equipment, including a project that replaces all of our first in bags, which is described in there. I mean, there's a project that, rather than cutting protective clothing or call firefighters, maybe we should, we could look at an area like that. I don't know. I mean, I think it's important that we have consistency in how our equipment's carried and that it's carried professionally when we go on calls, and that we can carry all the equipment we need to. And then the professional development piece ties right in with career, call. It's costing a lot in professional development because we're getting some excitement going about training and people coming to training. So you're not wrong, but I think the greater conversation is what direction do I go in? It's not, I'm not proposing more full-time people, which their argument could be made. It's just these numbers are affecting vehicle maintenance, building maintenance, call firefighters, and the protective equipment. So it can be changed. You're not wrong. And I'm willing to work with you. I just, we have a good opportunity. And the 4 firefighters are the 2020 recruits. We were goaling to have more in 2021. So I got to know I have to have direction as to whether we should pursue this, because there are some costs, no question, with bringing some additional people in. There is.
Yeah, I think I would like to revisit this budget. I think, you're coming early in our cycle, and we're going to have to come to a bottom line. And this is, to me, a very large increase. And it's not just one line, it's line after line after line after line. And I think we, need to really take a look at it. I would, do you want to take it off the equipment? Do you want to take it from, where do you want to take it from? And I'll give you some time to think about it, and us to give some time to think about it, and see what we feel is the best at that time. How does the others feel about that?
Yep. How do you folks feel?
I said earlier, I don't have a problem revisiting it, but there are some areas that I think we need to leave alone.
I think Dave's right. Mr. Bowers, do you have a thought?
I sort of agree with Dave Senecal.
Okay. And personally, do we need a motion for this, or we're just, we'll have you come back? No, we'll be fine. And Chief Scanzi, personally, I think you did the right thing. If you don't ask, you don't get. And I think that's the right thing to do. And I think you're kind and wise to say that maybe we need a little refinement on both sides of the conversation, and I think that's appropriate. So, Mr. Town Manager, can we get this back on the cycle? And by the way, Chief, this will tell you, don't go first.
I'm fine with all of it. I'm fine with all of it. Looking forward to
Never go first.
continuing to work with you.
Yeah, we can schedule this for a revisit.
Yeah, and I think the words of Mr. Senecal are heard by all of us, and I think and echoed by you. So it's a big number. Doesn't mean it's a bad number. It's just a big number, year over year, and we need to just make sure that we all soaked and comfortable with it. So, Chief, we'll be back with you. Aren't you looking forward to that?
And any member that wants to meet or discuss this, if that's allowed, I'm more than happy to meet with you individually, if that's helpful, or listen to any of your advice that you have. Do you want to do the capital outlay items, or do you want to do that on the revisit?
Yeah, we do. And Chief, Linda and I visited with you when we were talking about a new a new truck, so of course it's permissible. As long as we don't have a quorumed members of the Board of Selectmen, of course we can do that. And the more we learn, about each other, the better it is. So let's
Yeah,
do
and I think
capital.
also, we need to make sure the town manager knows we're going down to Hasley.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Paul, I would just suggest, public safety building is right directly behind the fire
You want
budget.
to do that next? You okay doing that?
Public
Okay.
safety building and do capital outlay last.
That sounds good. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that. Let's do the public safety building, folks. It's in the tab right after. Okay. It's only a couple of sheets of paper. Give you folks a chance to roll the dice here. I'll start the rock and roll. Okay. Public safety building. We're going to start at the 400 series.
Yes, I have something. 435. Chief, can you tell me the items that you believe made this line item go up? The new ones?
I think it's on the next page, Linda. I had the same thing and then I rolled the
Yeah,
page.
but
over.
out of there, we are up $6,000,
what-
almost $7,000, and I'm assuming there's some specific things that are in this year's budget that wasn't in last year, and that's what I'm asking him.
Got it.
Well, and I can't answer why it's up, because we did specific items for the budget. We looked at the building and what needed to be done, got quotes. Like pest control that's the quote. Bi-weekly cleaning. I think we're doing more cleaning. I think we increased the frequency of cleaning during COVID. General repairs and maintenance involves some things like replacing a door, putting an awning up. We're trying to make the dispatch center more secure. So we put a new this year we took money and put a new communication disc in the window between the lobby and the dispatcher so that they could communicate with the public but still have the safety of spray, I guess is for lack of a better word. And we wanted to put an intercom on the outside, so we were able to do that. And with the intercom on the outside, people are out in the weather, so we want to put an awning. So we have requested funding to put an awning over that doorway. So when the public comes, the dispatcher's alone, the cruiser's on patrol, the firefighters are on a call, the person isn't standing out in the rain when they push the button to the secure, and then with that would come an automatic unlocking device. So those are in some of the items in there. Dumpster rental. We did ask for money to paint the trim of the building on the outside. It is a brick building, but there's some white trim and it needs some upkeep. We want to have money in there to replace garage door opener motor and fire alarm service. So, those are the typical things that we do, with a couple of projects thrown in there as well. I don't know. I hope that
I guess the question.
I would say the planning of projects is what made that go up, rather than not planning the projects and then just doing it. We're actually planning them, so the money shows in the budget.
I think what Linda was asking, and if I'm incorrect, Linda, please correct me. I think Linda was saying, show me the walk. It takes me up $7,000 roughly from last year's budget.
I would say projects.
And I think there's an ask here for a little more texture to that. $7,000 is that begs a detailed type question. Hey, board members, any other questions? What do you want to do about this line item? Where are we?
Well, I heard that he's already done some things.
Mhm.
I don't know what they are exactly, but I think it's important for lobby security door, front entrance remote lock. Some of that stuff, it sounds like it's already been done, but the painting hasn't, the awning hasn't. Garage door opener replacement. Those are commercial openers. So yeah, I can see where, I would just like to know what stuff has been done, because he mentioned that a few things have.
So
If you want to revisit it, do you want to move forward? Do you want to get a revisit on this, or do you want to move
Yeah,
forward?
revisit on it, just have him break it out as to what's been done and what needs to be done.
Any objection to that,
That's all.
folks?
Yeah, and if there's anything in here as he thinks about how the budgets have increased, that he thinks he could just let go for another year. I don't want to scratch out, I don't know where it is, but again, we're back to having, increase. And if I'm correct here, this one's up 8.92.
Right.
So I'd
So the code-
like to kick it back to him, and maybe he can find one or two and bring that down for us.
So the code there, Chief Scanzi, is are these all must-dos, or are there a couple of wanna-dos? And if there's wanna-dos, must they be due in 2021? So let's revisit this particular line item in the budget, Mr. Town Manager. Is that okay? Got it. Thank you. Let's move on to the 600 series. And again, so we're down 22% on propane utilization. I guess I don't understand what's going on there.
we followed the guidance and the calculation and the guidance for what had been negotiated for the costs, and that's what it came out to be.
Cool.
Yep, that's good.
But we're happy to put it back up if you'd like us to.
No, I think that's fine.
He'll get us one way or another.
He's figuring this stuff out too quickly.
Yeah.
All right, and 700 series. Anything? Okay. So we're going to revisit that. Was it 435, Linda?
We changed the 435.
We'll revisit 435.
Yep.
Okay. And Jim, is now the right time to go to, or do we want to go to emergency management?
Let's just get emergency management out of the way. It's a very short, quick budget.
Management out of the way. Okay. That's a couple of tabs forward in the book. Okay. It's only a few pages, so it's right before fire and rescue, at least in my book.
Yep.
Okay. You all ready?
Yep.
Here we go. Let's do 100 series.
That's nice, it's all zeros.
This one's an easy one.
Yeah. I think we'll have any questions.
What are you doing lowballing us on this one? Come on.
Well, remember, we've been able to get a lot of grant money this year.
Oh.
Yep.
200 series. 600 series. 700 series. 800 series.
Jeez,
This is
no
a,
question.
this is a cakewalk.
Well, look how much it's gone up. 0.06.
6%, right?
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 0.06.
Did an excellent job on this one.
6 100ths of 1%. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. 800 series, I think we're gonna put that one in the barn. Chief, we're
Yep.
accepting that budget. Thank you very much for that. The rest of them, not so much. We'll get back to it. Okay, now it's time to look at capital outlay. Is now the right time, Jim? Now's the right time. Okay, here we go. Capital outlay is about 7/8 of the way down in your books. Jim, you want to lead us into the beginning of this little novena, or Chief Scanzi, you want to do that?
Pretty straightforward. Chief Scanzi has some capital outlay requests here. One of these requests has been denied. One of these requests has come in front of you. This will be, I believe, the third year. And one of these requests is brand new. With that said, I'll hand it over to the chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, so I think the largest item that I'm sure, is, will raise your concern is the refurbishment of boat 1, the boat that is on Lake Winnipesaukee that's down at the town docks all summer long. It was purchased in 2006 for about $76,000. And a current replacement for that boat would be in excess of $250,000. It's an Eastern fire rescue boat. It really serves the town's, meets the town's needs for fire protection and water rescue in particular. We have had a committee together for several years. This has been brought up before I was chief. It has not been successfully brought forward, but we have been in contact with manufacturers, boatyards, Marine Patrol, marinas, and we've worked with Eastern, who is the manufacturer of the boat, and come up with a pretty significant laundry list of items that will make the boat last longer and give it its full life, and also make the boat safer for the people that are operating on it and the public. The requests were made in 2018 and 2019, and the current condition of the boat and motors is really the biggest concern. The major repairs for this year, because the fuel pumps and the fuel lines are in need of replacement, and the original hull of the fireboat was designed to be aluminum and last the lifetime of the boat. But the fiberglass hull was purchased to save money, and the plan was to do this half-life refurbishment in 2021, 15 years into the life service of the boat. So I don't know if you were provided, I believe you were provided with this laundry list of items that are on here. And a lot of them include things like thermal imaging updates and monitors for FLIR camera, GPS upgrades. It includes improved lighting, the repair of the fiberglass, the safety rail and the tow rail, an engine protector so that when people are working on the boat and the boat accelerates, somebody can't fall, for example, off the back of the boat and get involved in twin engines behind there. That is probably one of the biggest safety hazards on the boat, in my opinion. Replacing all the old wooden handrails with more substantial handrails to hold on to, and emergency lighting upgrade. Just basically bringing the boat up as a modern vessel without coming to you and saying we need a new one. And I think it will last a long time. And I think it will continue to serve the town very well. We've seen water calls, rescue calls, and we were out a lot on the boat this summer. I'm sorry. Yes.
Mr. Sonical.
Well, I see in this that you're gonna replace the 2 engines that are on it now.
Yes, sir.
Is that because Johnson and Evinrude are out of business and you can't get parts, or?
I think it's an upgrade of those motors, and as opposed to doing significant repairs to already aged motors, that this is a recommended time to replace those, and it will probably be replaced with a Mercury.
Yeah, that was my next question. What type of engine are you talking about replacing it with?
Right. Something that could be maintained locally.
And just for the heck of it, you got something that says the engines are in trouble, other than your monitoring system is screwed up? I mean, are we seeing that we have compression problems with the engines? They broken? The lower housings are falling off, or is it the electronics that service the engine?
Well, I think that the fuel pump issue is a big issue. I also think just the age of them. Remember, we don't want to have the boats only in service for so many months out of the year. We want the reliability of the boat to be number one. We want the boat, when we go down to go on a rescue call, to not have, we don't want to be having like maintenance problems with, 15 or plus year motors. So I think that it's a normal replacement, but the alternative, if we don't replace them, are costly repairs. And we're seeing that in the apparatus. We're trying to get out of that right now. We're trying to turn that page. So
How old are the engines?
I think 15 years. So the boat was bought in 2006.
2006.
Here's my thought. Can you divide it in two projects? The motor 1 year, the boat the other? I'll give you a read on the budget committee. This is where they cut almost immediately when they have to take big numbers. So you've got a budget that's gone up a lot and you got big capital outlay. They're gonna cut something. And this, I am sure, if they get to the point and the whole budget has increased too much, this is what gets. So I don't know whether you want to come with option 2 if they get into the slashing mode and divide it up into 2 projects. My feeling is I'll leave it here. If they let it go through, that means the budget is within line and they can see it. I don't know. Can't make the judgment on the boat, I guess is my feeling.
Yeah, I was kind of going in the same direction as Linda. So if you got a boat and you got engines. You got engines that don't have a lot of hours on them. I don't know whether that's good or bad. But you're not out there running a party boat, but you have engines that don't have hours on them. I haven't heard anything, nor did I read anything in your narrative other than I need to replace a fuel pump and a gas line or two, that you have chronic engine problems. You tell us though that you got gel coat issues, you got rub rail issues, you got lighting issues, you got potentially electrical things on the boat, and you want to put in night vision on the boat. And I think town manager proposed that a few years ago. So if I was to be, massively unfair and I asked you, what do you want? You want to fix up the boat or you want to get new motors? That would be the first question I'd ask you. And if the answer is I need both, I'd say, okay, well, do you want new motors? Do you want to fix up the boat or do you want nothing? Because you run the risk, I think, of the budget committee giving you a nothing. And maybe the strategy is to say, look, we need, one or the other. You either need to repower or you need to fix the boat. And then the FLIR system is going to be, I think, a separate conversation as well. But I would coach you to think about, I'll leave it here too, unless anybody else objects. I would coach you to think about breaking this up over a couple of years and saying, phase 1 is to do this bill of material. Phase 2 is to do this bill of material. And what you get at the end of this thing is you get a repowered, pretty looking, and I mean, functional, extremely functional, contemporaneous fireboat. That would be my advice to you, to think about that.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I certainly would want to see some, I think those engines that are in there now probably have hour meters on them.
Sure.
They're gonna ask, especially John McDonald, where he has a lot of experience with this. He's gonna ask about the engine hours.
Yeah.
And I think that, if you have low engine hours, as Paul said, then, that might get pushed off for another year or even 2. But the hull of the boat would be, to me, more important than the engines. But that's just my feeling.
My committee, and they're the employees who've been working on this. I'm also new. I haven't even been here a year. So they are far more experienced with the boat and the history of the boat, and can provide some of that additional information. But the aspect of splitting this was considered internally, and also was in discussions when I spoke with the town manager. And I think that it's not illogical to split it up. I mean, it could be done. I think the crew would understand that, because we do have a lot of items on the budget. On the other hand, there is an argument made to just get it done, so we want it in service. The biggest thing is we want it in service in the summer, so we don't want it to be out of service all of July or something. So
Yeah.
Well, my experience is like Linda's. This gets to the budget committee. You better have an awful lot of answers, or you better have option 2 ready to go, because they're gonna start slashing that stuff.
I think you've discovered option 2 already. I think we can split
Right.
it if we are required to.
That's what I'm saying.
You want to be able to move quickly to that, I think.
You're
Well,
gonna,
my personal point of view is, if you have low engine hours on an engine that's been in the salt water, you want to repower it. If you have low engine hours and an engine that's been in fresh water, unless you've been beating the living what out of it, you really got to go some in order to demonstrate that it's got problems. Unless you have compression issues and all that kind of stuff. One thing I would also tell you, it came up with the budget committee a few years ago, was the FLIR system is something that you probably want to bone up on in terms of how you present that to the budget committee. Why do you need it? Frequency of use? How many times are you going out at night that you need to look in the water? Jim, I thought, did a great job a few years ago making the case, but I think you're going to have to, get that one a little thought through as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Just think about it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anybody, do we want to do anything with this?
I think it's up to the chief on this one. He hears us of where you have experience with the budget committee. On the capital outlays, I generally don't cut. They're a program and they make sense unless we want to throw the whole thing out. And I don't think we want to throw all of the vote out. So I think give it a whirl and have something in your pocket if you have to bring it out quickly.
Just understand the dimensions of what you're dealing with, Chief, Just understand what you're walking into. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. What else you got?
The other item is a replacement of the cardiac monitor and defibrillator. And basically, this is the monitor defibrillator that we carry out on the first piece that responds to most of the calls, engine 1. We only have one. We're working this year with our capital outlay. I had Deputy Zotti does our capital improvement plan, has been doing that for a number of years. I asked him to do a similar plan for capital outlay and to take all those items that are in that category and get them on a sheet going forward 10 years so we could map it out and have it, some reason as to when we're going to replace something. So we answer about 858 medical and rescue calls annually as a frontline EMS, responding as the first responder with our ambulance service. They also carry these cardiac monitors and defibrillators. They're used pretty extensively for patient care, for cardiac monitoring, not just for heart attacks, although, the chest pain calls, it's a must, item to have. But for a lot of other patients, the monitor also does vital signs. It can transmit an EKG to the hospital if necessary. And it just has a lot of patient assessment capability that we carry. And periodically, what happens is that there's about 3 major manufacturers of these cardiac monitor defibrillators, and they'll just say to you, "We're not going to support that unit anymore after such and such a date." We get that on our 2-way radios. We get that on a lot of stuff, and so we need to be mindful of getting this so that it meets all the criteria that it needs to and upgrade ours. Basically, it's a costly item. It's a $32,800 item. We only have one of them. And so, we have to have one that is not going to need service because we don't have like a backup or something. What we're going to do for backups going forward is AEDs that have the capability of doing a 4-lead EKG that would be, that we carry on other equipment. So that's it in a nutshell. It's kind of I don't want to call it a housekeeping item, but it is going to come up over and over again. Yes, sir.
I have to recognize myself.
Why don't you?
Paul, would you like to ask a question? Yes, I would.
Yeah, why don't you, Paul?
So Chief, I presume you're gonna, there's no way that this could be covered by any kind of grant monies. You'll poke around in that patch to see if there are. And then the second question, which is, do you have to be trained on this thing? And is there any incremental cost you'll see on the operating side that says we're going to get trained, certified, whatever the right terminology is?
There's a training element to it. Emergency medical technicians have to be able to utilize it. Advanced EMTs and paramedics, all categories would use an EKG because remember, it also has the ability to determine somebody's blood pressure. It has a pulse oximeter on it. It does. It can allow us to monitor other vital signs. So yeah, there's a training curve to it for sure.
My assumption is you've cared for that on the operating side. If there's any incremental cost, it's already packed in your budget.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. And the only question is there any way we can scour the countryside and see if we can get grant money to get this thing funded? And again, I coach you so that when you come forward to our dear friends at the budget committee, you will hear, well, there's lots of grant monies out there for that, and you may want to be able to anticipate that question
Sure.
and head it off with the pass.
I'm
Okay?
not aware of any grant money for these. That doesn't mean that there isn't.
Yeah.
And so I always look at that.
And maybe the thing to do is reach out to John McDonald, because he tends to know where the grant monies are, and ask him if he has a clue as to where you might want to look. That way, he will have already participated with you in this conversation.
Okay.
Good idea. I like it, Paul.
So, okay. Anything else, Chief?
I don't think so. Everything
thank
else
you
got
very
cut
much.
by the town manager.
Any of the members of the Board of Selectmen comments, questions for our chief? Any questions for Chief Scanzi?
No, I just want to thank him.
Welcome to our town. It was really great to see the deputy sitting on Hercules yesterday. It was.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was fun.
He said he's he never has been on a horse before.
Don't tell anybody, but it looked like he had never rode a horse before. Don't tell anybody. That was really awesome, though. It was great to see that. It was great to see Officer Devine up on the horse. That was awesome. That was really awesome. And I know that the kids will always appreciate stopping by the firehouse this week or next week for trick or treat. So thank you for that. Anything else for our chief before we adjourn him? Okay. Thank you, Chief. We appreciate you here.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, so last part of our agenda is public input, limited to 3 minutes per person, not to exceed 15 minutes in total. Do we have any members of the public who would like to offer some thoughts, input? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the public input session. We have some next meeting dates for folks in the public. We have a meeting date on October 19th at 6 p.m., another budget meeting. We have another meeting date on October 20th at 6:30, which will be a regular Board of Selectmen meeting. October 22nd, 6 p.m., a budget meeting. October 26th, 6 p.m., another budget meeting. October 28th, 6 p.m., another budget meeting. And October 29th, 6 p.m., another budget meeting. And as the town manager said, a lot of this information now is up on the town's website. And that's goodness. Mr. Senical.
Yeah, Paul, I have, at least in my book, I thought we had scratched the 22nd because we had one on the 19th and we had a regular meeting on the 21st. I'm mistaken on that?
It's entirely possible. I may have a bad piece of paper, Dave.
Oh,
No,
I
I
have it
have
on
it on-
mine, but I had
I
it
have it on the
scratched out
top.
because I thought we had talked
Yeah.
about only having 2 nights a week.
Jim, bail me out.
Yep. Excellent question, Dave. Amy and I discussed that today. Quite frankly, we spaced it. The question is, we're in pretty good shape. We've still got the November 2nd, nothing scheduled. We've got a couple revisits right now, not terrible. So the question is, do you want to not hold the meeting on either the 19th or the 22nd? That's the board's discretion.
I think, but if I look at it, I think both the 19th and 22nd could be long meetings. Because
I agree.
Dave Ford has a lot, which is the 19th, and we have a lot of different departments on the 22nd. Those seem to be two of the larger budget meetings. So I'm with Dave Senical. Maybe we should move that and only have 2. because we don't have many revisits. Of course, we could be coming up to a lot of revisits, but
Well, the big ones are coming up. So, what's your pleasure? The 19th,
Well, we have-
and the 22nd still good? You want to table or postpone the 26th, 28th, 29th? What do you want to do?
26th, 28th, and possibly the 29th. And if we scratch the 22nd, that still gives us 2 meetings this week. Or next week, rather.
But if we push the 20, if it pushes us to the 26th, the 28th and the 29th, that would be a 3-meeting run.
Be a long set of meetings. Plus,
I
we're
don't care.
also bumping up against when our dear colleagues at the Budget Committee start their prayer
I-
sessions on this stuff.
I think their first meeting is scheduled for the 10th, so we do have a little bit of time in
Yeah.
between.
I'm not worried about them. Let them worry about themselves.
Bless your heart. How about we do this? How about we give how about we give Jim the opportunity to re-swizzle this thing? And why don't you post something tomorrow for us?
Okay.
You okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
And I think the sense of the Congress here is fewer meetings if we can. Given that we only have to revisit, at least at this moment, with our beloved Chief Scanzi, and that will always be a fun meeting to revisit with. But fewer meetings if we can. Is that kind of the sense here, board members?
Yep. Is for me.
It is for you, Linda.
I think we're just trying to space them out and not have to go 3 nights in a week. I think
Yeah.
that's the
Gets a
main
little
thing.
muddy.
Because
Yeah.
that really takes a lot of effort if you've got 3.
Well, it gets blurry. It gets
On
blurry.
the 26th, I have to be, as you know, I work in the town of Freedom, so I have my budget on the 26th. So I won't be back from that until probably 7:30 on the 26th. So
Let's just do this to
Just
save.
so you guys know that-
We'll cancel the 26 meeting. Is that okay with you, Mr. Pinio?
Did
And
you
then
just?
we're short. We've got-
26th.
Okay, but that
Yeah.
Wait
doesn't,
a second.
that doesn't solve the problem of
We're
next
gonna
week.
get,
no,
So
no, but
Can I
it
make a
also pushes
recommendation?
us,
Linda. Go ahead, Linda.
I don't think we can do cancel the 22nd and the 26th. I think that's doing 2, it's gonna jam us at the other. I think we have to do
Right.
one or the other. And if Dave can't be there, then I would have no problem going to the 26th, but then I think we have to keep the 22nd.
I agree with that. I agree with that. So the 22nd is still on. Everybody
yes,
agree with that?
okay,
22nd is still on. The 21st is still a Board of Selectmen's meeting, still on.
Right.
The 19th is still on.
Yep.
So the 26th is now off. 28th, what do you want to do
Yeah.
about the 28th?
that sounds
So
good.
the
That's
26th
not a bad night.
stuff will go to the 15th.
The 26th is off, Linda. So what do you want to do about the 28th? You want to do,
Yeah, but the ones we're going to do on the 26th are gonna move to the 28th. The
Yes.
ones that are on the 28th would go to the 29th. The ones on the 29th would go to the 2nd. You just will you will get rid of the date, but you'll keep the departments rolling down,
Correct.
schedule the same.
So then this is all said and done.
Yep.
And I guess what I'm hearing is the meeting on October 26th, we're all kind of in agreement that says, let's not do that. Let's not do that.
Yep.
And that what would have taken place on the 26th moves to the 28th. What would have taken place on the 28th goes to the 29th, and what takes place on the 29th will go to the 2nd of November.
Yep.
Hang on, Jim's got a mused look here. He's a little mused.
oh, I think we've forgotten the root of the conversation, which was 3 meetings next week. Have I missed something? Because we're still looking at 3 meetings next week.
Yes, because Dave Senical
Okay.
cannot make the 26th, and that week also had 3.
Okay,
Had the 26th, 28th, 29th. And so we,
Jim, you're
in
right.
order for Dave to be here, we got the 26th.
Jim, you're right. Mr. Senecal preambled this by saying 3 meetings a week is a lot, gets blurry. But we're still gonna have 3 meetings next week.
That's fine. One of them's a selectmen's meeting,
Selectmen's
so.
We'll be talking about other stuff. Okay. Okay, so we don't need, Jim, so we're all set with that?
I will verify with Michelle tomorrow. I'm sure she's got the notes.
Go check with the boss. That's always good.
I got it.
Thank you, Michelle.
Okay, any other business, members?
You want a motion to adjourn? I'll do that.
I don't know. I was thinking, maybe, yeah, that might not be a bad idea.
I'll second that, Dave.
Okay. Can I just get a show of hands, of all those of you that want to adjourn?
Well, but the public can't hear us.
That's true. So let's do a roll call vote. Linda Murray.
Yes,
Motion
I
to adjourn
do.
on the table, seconded by Linda Murray. Linda Murray.
Yes,
David Senical.
Yes.
Mr. Bowers.
Yes.
Paul O'Brien says yes. Everybody, thank you very much for putting up with my drivel. Have a good night. See you whenever see you 3
See you
times next
next
week.
week.
Goodbye.